what I really want you to know about precalculus. So I think this section is so important that I'm actually going to video myself reading this to you because I really don't want you to skip over it. When we learn math, there are lots of rules and formulas. Many students are tempted to simply memorize these, and sometimes you're even going to have teachers who even tell you you should memorize them all. Well, in precalculus, you will need to memorize some formulas and definitions, but please step away from the approach of trying to memorize how to do math. In higher level math classes, it becomes more and more important that you build a strong, deep understanding of some core ideas so that the math really makes sense. If you rely on memorizing a recipe of steps of how to solve each type of problem without understanding why each step is necessary or how those steps help you to reach a solution, then you're at risk of rapidly falling behind and finding higher level math classes become progressively more difficult for you. Understanding the core ideas is also going to help you identify which steps in a solution are essential work that must be shown. As you move towards calculus, your teacher will place less emphasis on your final answer and much more emphasis on the work that you choose to show. Your goal is to show clear, organized, relevant, mathematically precise work that demonstrates your understanding of the concepts that are being assessed. So, the points you get on the test, unless it's a short question, some questions really don't have much work at all that you can show, but some of them there's some very important steps that you must show. At the end of every question, go and check your work and check is it clear. Now what I mean by that is please don't write tiny, cram your work in. We're not trying to save paper. Put white space around the lines you write and try and make your work clear and easy for someone to read. Your work should be organized. Just below the question, there should be the first thing that you had to work out to move on to the next step. Have them in ordered lines sort of going down the page, not sort of mathematical vomit, I call it, when something's written in the middle and written something here and written something there. Please, no. Organized work in a relevant order. Then your work must be relevant. It must be relevant to the question that's being asked. Mathematically precise. This becomes really, really important when you get into calculus. One example of that would be the use of the equal sign. If you start off with an equation where the left side is an equal sign in the middle and the right side, the left side equals the right, and then you know the next step is right, well I'm going to get this equation and divide it by 2. Well, if you just get one side and divide it by 2, you've now lost equality. You can't do that. When you use mathematical symbols, you must use them correctly. Then your work must show that you must understand that you've written down relevant work that shows that you really understand what's going on. Going back to what work you need to actually show, don't forget this isn't Algebra 1 anymore. It's not 8th grade math. Some of you can look at a two-step equation and go straight from that to what x equals. I don't need to see all that simple algebraic manipulation that you did when you were in 8th grade math, Algebra 1, geometry, maybe even Algebra 2. You can write it if you want. Say, I've got this, I'm going to add 4 to both sides, then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. You don't have to show that work if you can do several steps in your head. If you want to show that work, that's absolutely fine. Another thing you can do is if you want to do that work accurately is you can sort of do it off to the side over in the margin, just checking you're getting your work correct. But they're not the essential work that I'm looking for. When I talk about the essential work that must be shown, write down the examples we do in class clearly. Write down every step I write out, and I will go through and say, this step is very important, you must show this step. This step is very important. This step, nah, some of us could have done that in our head. You didn't actually have to write those steps. But the work that you write down is going to become more and more important, and I want you to learn from the beginning to get that right.